Hello, everybody. This is Todd McDougal here from Winnipeg Alternative Media. Yes, we are live. Well, I mean, this is a different style of screen here tonight. Trying to figure this out a little bit here. Yeah, well, I don't know. That's a weird one. We'll go with this. We have an incredible guest here tonight. We have a guest that has actually been with us like several times going back before COVID, before the pandemic, back when there was the whole yellow vest movement, so on and so forth. We had Patrick King on. We've been having Patrick King on for years. I've respected the man to the end of the earth for a long time. I know there's all kinds of drama that can get started up with any single time people stick their neck up. Every single time you stick your neck out, there will be drama. There will be believers. There will be disbelievers. There will be arguments. There will be bullshit.
There will be trolls.
It's the way it goes. And that's okay. That's okay. But in the face of all of that, is there a way to go find something that is honest, respectful, and truthful without wanting to go endlessly spit fire and nonsense? Or, is Pat King that guy? Really? Really? Do we really think, after all things said and done, Patrick King is the guy that just wants to go start fire just for the sake of it? And no, there's that. None of that rings true. None of that rings true. There's a lot to talk about here. But at the same time, there's really not so much to talk about.
A little bit to configure on.
The Freedom Convoy was a natural progression of free Canadians that loved freedom. Problems will always be inherent in the movement of that nature. There is one voice, one name that was forgotten about during this. Now, a few big names that have never been forgotten about and have been even, I guess, somehow now become a voice of controversy. Pat King, Tamara Leach, Chris Barber.
Stop calling names. We all know.
Do these have to be names that are endlessly voiced in endless controversy? Or is there something deeper there? Is there something better to mention there? And I have a name. I have a conversation. And I don't mean this. And I don't mean to put this forward in a way that's going to go solve and save everything else. Because, of course, that's not even a real thing. And it doesn't even need to be focused on like that. And in fact, actually, what we're about to talk here about tonight can still be taken for a little bit of a grain of salt. Because at the end of the day, if things were better off than they were before, then the win is a win. But there is a name. There is somebody that hasn't really been brought up in the last long while that I thought would be very, very understandable at touching base on with what things shaped out to be during and shortly after the Freedom Convoy of Ottawa became internationally renowned. And that name belongs directly to the Conservative Party of Canada. And it is the name B.J. Dichter.
Oh, yeah.
And I have always wondered, never mind the controversy and the drama over other certain large players, that name, B.J. Dichter, who sold books like in March of 2022, should be at least slightly, if there's going to be drama over moving away amicably from the situation, that name needs to be spoken about. And so it was very interesting that once I got our guest on the phone last night and said that to him, he was like, yeah, man, that's true. It was understood very quickly. Yeah, that's a point of contention. And it hasn't been focused on too much. And I'm not saying that like we've pinpointed the biggest, best thing. No. None of it matters like that. But if anybody wants to go ahead and focus on what it could be to be duplicitous on a, such a large event, I think some of the drama has been slightly misplaced. And I think what we can touch on here tonight is going to be far better placed. And I would like to go take a stab at that. And then leave it alone. Because she done, boy. She's very done. Cooked as much as you could possibly cook it. But regardless, it's a very important topic. It's a very important topic. And it needs to be touched on. So before doing that, let's quickly have a little word from our sponsors here, that being Bulldog Demolition. Any kind of demolition done, commercial, residential, indoor, and outdoor. Well, look no further then. And so without wasting any time whatsoever, let's get right into the meat and potatoes of exactly what we're here to do tonight and bring on a guest that we have had on several times before. But my gosh, it must have been, it has to have been a good 2+ years. Patrick King.
Yeah, since I first came back, once I got my voice back, after my conditions were lifted.
That's right. And you are now just a few days away from being completely free of that.
I'm exactly 3 days away of being a completely free man.
Wonderfully said.
Probation will be over. I served my sentence. Now probation, 1 year of probation is over in 3 days.
Awesome. We are so happy to hear that. Great stuff, man.
Been a long road.
No kidding. Pat, it is such a pleasure to have you with us here tonight. And it's been a long time coming. You've been a guest that we've had. I was with you there in Ottawa. You were one of the last interviews I had before everything went south. It was yeah. We were right there in front of Parliament Hill, hours before it all went down. But you know what? Again, that is 4 years in the past, and we're here now. So, is Tamara Leach, Chris Barber, James Bowder, are they all the most wicked people of all time, or is there just some awful miscommunications?
I think that there was some nefarious issues that were brought in. Although it started out with good intentions, I think people got their minds twisted. They got the once money gets involved,
a massive amount of money and attention,
once money got involved, people's ideologies went sideways. I do feel that even, and I'll say this, I do feel the two of them, when it comes to Tamara and Chris, they started out with good intentions, but they let the fame and the money get to their heads. They brought people in that weren't part of our organization when I first started everything, when I brought everybody to the table and tried to get everybody to work together collectively to move things forward in the early days. I think the intentions at that point were relatively meaningful, but then once we got to Ottawa, they shifted. And when they shifted, a lot of us all asked, what the hell was this for? Who are these people? What are they doing in these groups? Such as BJ Dichter, such as Tom Marazzo, such as Tom Quiggins, all of these organizations that were getting their paws into everything. We were never supposed to be in hotel rooms, and I especially was never. I was in there a few times and I didn't want any of that. We were to be on the streets and protest. And a lot of things that went down happened in those back rooms because of people's wrong directions of which way we were supposed to go with it. I'll always stand with the people on the streets. That's what we came for. That's what we were there for. We were there to be peaceful, have a good time, make sure people had accommodations, clothing, food. fuel for their vehicles and stuff. And that was the goal. The goal wasn't to negotiate with the city of Ottawa. If you ask every trucker on the roads when that came out, nobody wanted to have a meeting with Ottawa. Our problem was not with the city of Ottawa. Our issues were with the federal government and their mandates on people. Not only that,
yes,
we also had issues. They had issues in the back with, people trying to direct things that didn't even need to be directed. And one of the issues is they couldn't get trucks into place. Well, get out on the street and move trucks. You want to do that? You ain't going to do it sitting in these boardrooms. Get out and do it. So who was the guy to go and do that? That was me. I was requested to go and move vehicles, to get people off of Sir John A. Macdonald, to get people out of the S-Jam, and moved up into Ottawa, into the downtown core. I was asked to go get people out at bars, and that was by request by Tom Marazzo. So I go and do that. I get the vehicles up, we get people in, and then I'm finding out later in my court case that those exact scenarios are the reasons I was charged for. I was charged for bringing people up in the middle of the night from the Sir John A. Macdonald onto Wellington Street and onto other streets. Then we did the slow roll around the airport. As we read in Tom Marazzo's book, Tom Marazzo's in there saying that he delegated me to do that. No, he didn't. Martin Broadman asked me if I wanted to do that. And I said, you know what? We're bored. It's cold. Yeah, absolutely. But Tom Marazzo was trying to take credit for that. Well, Tom Marazzo, if you're trying to take credit for this, why am I charged with slow rolling the airport and bringing trucks up onto Wellington Street? And who are you? And why? Why are you putting that in your book stating that you made me do these things? And it was not you, in fact, that made me do these things. In fact, I was doing them on my own accord because I knew what protesting needed to be done. At the same time, you're going to take credit for that. Well, how come you're not on the stand? How come you're not in jail? How come you're not being put on trial for delegating people to do that? Could that be because of your military ties? Could that be your ties to CSIS? Could that be your ties to other, surveillance organizations? Was it a setup? Questions that I've been having to answer myself. I've been trying
You're not necessarily saying I have the answers. You're just asking the question.
I'm asking these questions 100%. And then who gave you the authority to make those decisions? The organization crew, us, ourselves, and many others that were in the organization were not ever asked or spoken to for these moves.
All right. I don't want to get caught too much into this because this is already this is what I'm trying to steer this broadcast a little bit away from, actually. Who is BJ Dichter? How did he get involved? How did he get involved? And how did he sneak his way out without anybody? See, there's so much drama. You and Chris, you and Tom, but that was the first guy that ever actually.
So now we found out that supposedly Tamara
BJ Dichter.
Tamara brought BJ Dichter in, unbeknownst to any of us in the original organization.
Everything about that boy.
So I've been doing some digging on who BJ Dichter is. Did you know that he led the LGBT Tory organization? So BJ Dichter was trying to run the LGBTQ conservative group called LGBT Tory. Did you know that?
As far as I'm concerned, what I've seen from research doing him, he's looking to make money on everything like, anti-liberal, pro-conservative that he can make off in Canada right now. Like a cuck. He's cucking for it. Like that.
So BJ comes in. Nobody knows where he comes from. Nobody knows who brought him in, but we find out it was Tamara. Tamara talks about it in the POEC. So this is where I'm getting my information. Tamara brings it in. And
she's never mentioned it ever since.
And then BJ comes in. He starts making tweets on Tamara's behalf, supposedly. Mm-hmm. He starts taking over control of media. He brings in Dagny Pollock. And Dagny Pollock is a clear liberal. She's in there. She's doing many nefarious things within the inner workings of those back rooms. So people such as myself and other people on the roads are like, what the hell is going on?
Oh, that's the guy.
Who is this guy and why is he here? So we do some digging, find out that he's involved in the Conservative Party. He's involved in, and I'm not trying to point this out as a conspiracy, but he's definitely got some Israeli connections. Dagny Pollock, direct Israeli connections. These people end up becoming more and more suspicious to the rest of the group of us. So when we ask our questions, we go in and we talk to these people. Why are these people even here? And nobody knows.
Did BJ Tinker actually take this stand in Ottawa?
Not to my knowledge.
I didn't think so either.
No, I think he was denied at the POEC. I do know that BJ was trying to push Bitcoin for their group.
Yes.
Ran off to Miami.
Yes.
After everything was done, he skipped the border, took off down to Miami. And then he was, from what I was told, in Colombia or Venezuela or something like that. And a lot of that money, a lot of those Bitcoins, poof.
See, if anybody really made money, way more than even a Tamara or a Chris, it was BJ first.
James Bowder made
That's
he
what
also
I wanted
ran.
to say.
He also ran for Toronto City Council. So
Really?
obviously he's got political affiliation. Yeah, in 2014.
Really?
He focused on many things, but he was yeah. So this guy's in bed.
Yeah.
This guy.
He was big in the Conservative Party. Big.
And that's where the links come, where I know that there was political influence. Political influence from the Conservative Party.
He was big with Ford and all of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, big.
He's one of those ones who kind of got out under the radar. Now I see Chris is stating that BJ did take the stand. I didn't see his testimony, so I guess he did take the stand. But at the same time, BJ had nothing to do with us. He was brought in by Tamara.
Yes. And he never had to go answer to any sort of money value of anything.
I think if he was brought into the POEC, I'm sure he was asked a bit about that.
Never a clear answer. Never had to answer a truthful on any of that front. Nothing. Zero. There would have been millions that should have been on his dollar plate, and he never went on record on any of it.
For those asking, this is BJ Dichter.
Yeah, that's
those are asking for pictures.
That's crazy.
Oh, I'm gonna put them up. I'm gonna put up in lights right away.
That's a big dick.
I do see there's a lot of nefariousness that went on, and people who got involved. By Tamara, and Tamara never had that authority. You see, Tamara was only brought in as administration, and then she put her name on a GoFundMe page. Tamara was never supposed to have this spotlight. She never wanted this spotlight. So I asked myself many times, why are you taking the spotlight when you didn't want the spotlight? But now that you have the spotlight, why are you not telling people how you got into this spotlight? Why are you not telling the truth about all of this? We know what's going on. We know who's behind you. We know that you're being manipulated via, these outside organizations. And you don't want to speak on that. You don't want to defend that. If you're such a strong advocate for freedom, rights, and and Canadian values,
they won't even go do what you're doing right now. You're currently talking and doing interview on a smaller platform, and all they do is say top tier and nothing else. If we're not on Rebel,
I wouldn't even call it top tier. What I call it is conservative-backed, conservative-aligned type of podcasters. Paid content.
That's true. Yeah.
That's because she's being groomed. They're being groomed, right? They're being groomed.
They're only voicing one thing, and that's not supposed to be what we did. That's not supposed to be what we did. It wasn't just a voice, conservative, blah, 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 endlessly all day long. That was not the point. So
this is where we have a problem with that, is when you start flying a flag for a particular political party.
Exactly.
The only way that political party will allow you to even fly their flag is if you're on board with what their messaging is. Yeah. And you see, that's the reason why myself, and not that I'm complaining,
it's having a tough time with all the shit that you paid for to do it.
I call both sides out. I call both left and right side. I call both sides of the bird because they're both corrupted. Yeah. But you see, these people know this, and this is my concern. Is
and
these
they
people,
don't want to talk about it,
and they will never. This goes for Alberta Proud Dad. This goes for Mario Zelaya. This goes for Pleb. This goes for all of these conservative-leaning podcasters. Yes. They can't disseminate or scrutinize their own parties that they're trying to fly banners for. So that, correct. For me, automatically sends up red flags. Because if I'm going to vote conservative and the Conservative Party makes a boo-boo or does something that's wrong, I'm going to call it out. I'm going to say, whoa, you're not, what the hell? I voted for you and this is what you're going to do? This is wrong. But these people won't even swing because they're backed by political influence, which shows me that our convoy was infiltrated by political influence. And then when the political influence,
the convoy was
100%.
And was BJ Dichter not one of the ones leading that? Because I think he was.
Well, BJ Dichter still to this day is a ghost. Where did he come from? Who brought him in?
Explain that to me. Or no, I mean, it might be difficult to explain, but in all the drama that is supposed to take even, the leadership from your own voice, is there not maybe a little bit something that's a little bit more interesting than the Tamara Chris thing than BJ Dichter? Because I think, and I know, like we talked about this last night on the phone, and I love, and I want to. By the way, everybody, I want to go say this so everybody hears this loud and clear. Patrick King, when you talk to him on the phone, just one-on-one, is a human being. Okay, a man. You can talk to him.
I think I talk with you too.
So enough of this bullshit about he's just backwards Canadian celebrity or anybody who speaks that. I'm not a fan of yours. No. Anyways, enough of that. Patrick King speaks. He's a human being. And we spoke about this last night, and you even kind of had the response, and I was kind of interested and surprised to hear where you were like, "Yeah, you're right. Why? Nothing about BJ Dichter in the last.
Nobody wants to say a peep about him.
And so I just reiterated, and it was like, well, doesn't that mean there's a big open door about something there? And you understood what I was saying.
Well, I look at it this way: when I deep dive into who BJ Dichter is, and I see his ties to Israel, I see his ties to the certain demographic of people. It's only comes to one solution to that, and that is infiltration, false flag, attempt to overtake, and attempt to redirect. And what did they do?
And I agree with all of that.
They redirect.
That is what he did.
That's exactly what he did.
Absolutely, is what he did. Yeah. Oh yeah. He took all the major American media interviews and positioned it as if like he was the guy, right? He was the
and he had nothing to do with anything.
And he had nothing to do with anything. Yeah. So he was literally just making shit up as he spoke. He didn't even know what he was actually saying. He just made it up. Because it sounded.
And we all started this because we had been fed up. We had enough. We had spent 2 years going through this.
Because there was real human emotion and involvement.
To only have it overtaken and people jumping in on the bandwagon and trying to take over and run it in a direction that it should have never went into. For us, it was very very heartbreaking to a lot of us.
That's fucking awful.
And I know that the people on the roads had no clue of what was going on in the background, and we were doing our best to keep it at a dull roar so that nobody caught wind of what was happening in behind the scenes. But if you notice now, we have every organizer that I had brought in and every organizer that I had brought to the table to get this thing off the road. We're still talking. every one of us are still talking. We still collaborate. We still talk about what's going on. We put the pieces together ourselves. And there's only 2 people who refuse to come to the table and talk about it. And I think, and not that I think, I know that they won't come to the table because they've been told not to come to the table. They can't allow themselves to have a slip up because it'll break everything. But every one of us who was there, every Canadian that was there, were there for the right reasons, minus a select few. And the select few have been called out. And what we tried to do is we need to keep going at this, okay? So this is what I'm trying to say. We want to keep going at this government. We need to keep pushing harder onto this government. But you can't do that with people that are in the organizational skill level and at the level that they've been put at, allowed to infiltrate again. So as a lot of people are sitting there going, you know, Pat, you're just a shit disturber. You're this, you're that. No, what I'm doing is bringing awareness to the people to understand that these people are infiltrating your groups. They are coming in with the wrong purposes, and they are going to blow it up from the inside. And that's exactly what they did.
Pat, you are a shit disturber, and you're one of the country's best. And that's why we love you so much. But
it is what it is. This is why I'm trying to say, like, these people, they did it on purpose. And unfortunate for everybody else, unfortunately for everybody else, you know, we had this amazing moment in Canadian history, and it still is an amazing moment. But correct, people are propping people up in positions as a hero standpoint, and they have no reason to even be there.
Perfect. I'm gonna do it.
And this is getting me to the point where, hey, you need to sit down at the table. This is your last chance at an olive branch before I start putting people down on paper and I start putting people on podcasts that are willing to come up and step up, who have been inside and watching it from the whole time, that are willing to come up and talk. And I'm not wanting to destroy or disseminate for anybody out there. I don't want to do that. But at the same time, I feel it an obligation to protect people who know that we need to keep going, and you need to be aware of these people involved. I've got another situation that arrived where the same thing is happening.
Hold on. Let me just one moment. I just want to put this out there right now. Now, at the end of the day, at the end of all things and how serious they are, I know that you know how serious they are, of course. Nobody should know better than you. Is there really a war, a battle? Something that should be, like, you know, conducted between different Canadians, between you, Tamara, Chris, James, any of those individuals, or is it a little, or can we still be a little more okay than all of that?
My issues are personal. James Bowder was caught on disclosure trying to tell the police that I was Antifa, and he was conspiring with the law enforcement. Of course, you're not
Antifa. That's retarded.
That's my personal issue. James Bowder tried to, throw me to the wolves for what reason I don't know.
Moving past that.
Then you've got Chris and Tamara, who were supposed to cover anybody who was arrested or anybody who had any issues with lawyer fees, with funding and all of that stuff. They handpicked, they cherry picked who got. If you told the line and you were on Team Tamara and Chris, you got compensation for lawyers. I've got in recordings where JCCF openly told the lawyer not to represent me. The downfall is, they went against us, the original organizers. They went against what we stood for, and that is where it became personal. Then I find out that in their trial, they tried to point fingers at me as being the problem. And in fact, in my trial, I was credited as being the one who stopped violence and stopped any damage to property, who was actually the peaceful one there. So to me, my issues are personal, but at the same time, when we dig deeper into this, as talking with the organizers to find out who was actually pulling the strings in behind the scenes, then it becomes an even more issue because you put people's life at risk. You got people beaten. You got people shot with rubber bullets. You got people trampled by horses. You got people run through the ringer. Businesses are shut down because people's involvement. That, and for me, now that isn't just.
I will say this: Chris and Tamara have never apologized for that. Never. Never. They've never said sorry for what you went through. No, it's always sorry for what they went through. Yeah, I get. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry. I mean, I'm not saying that to go shit on somebody, but that's honest. That's honest. Yeah. Sorry, Pat.
So in going about that, we were never to put anybody's life at risk, anybody's home at risk, anybody's businesses at risk, but people did know that was a possibility. So then there was also the opportunity to take care of these people when you could have, and you didn't. You didn't take care of these people. You threw these people under the bus for what? To save your own ass? We were all in this for the same reasons. We were all in this for the same purpose. And I believe we did achieve that purpose, but at the expense of others. And that's where I find for me was a very nefarious thing. And why did you go about it that way? And who told you to do that?
So are they guilty of their crimes?
I think so. I think they were involved in trying to.
Yes, but the
no, you see, there was something else, and I talked to a military intelligence officer. I had them on my podcast.
It gets out of hand when something starts to create its own tidal wave. It's hard to go say no. It just moves. Then it just starts to move. And it is out of your hands.
From the beginning.
It was out of Chris and Tamara's hands as well, too, but it doesn't mean Pat's wrong.
No,
it still means that they made choices that said, like, and could have been made, retrospection is always 2020.
And there was no apology.
And it doesn't mean that somebody is the most evil human being imaginable, but it doesn't mean that Pat's wrong.
Well, and I don't think that they're evil. I don't think that I don't think they knew what they were doing. But now they're so embedded in it, and they're so deep down in them involved that they can't get out. And that's where I have an issue with it. Now you've got them manipulating their conditions in court.
Do you want them to get out? Do you want them to be able to save themselves and get better? And do this for the
project? I want them to come clean.
Yeah.
I want them to expose DJ Victor.
And this in a different way that it seems like right now?
What's that?
And this in a different way that it seems like right now.
Well, I just want them to know that it's got to be weighing heavy on your conscience. And I'm looking into the camera to say this. I know they're watching, and I know that this is weighing heavy on your conscience. Just come clean. Tell people who got involved and why you let them do that. You would be better off to just come clean and tell the people we're sorry. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't realize until after the fact. People would get over that. At the same time, I still see the online trolling, the attacks against my family, going after my circle of people. For what reason? If you just answer the questions and you talk about how you allowed Keith Wilson to get involved, Keith Wilson took over, Keith Wilson started running the show for you guys, and Keith Wilson started investigating or infiltrating in the city hall and started infiltrating with Doug Ford and all of this stuff, say it. Come out and say it. Tell people. We understand. We get it. We see it. But you get no respect from anybody within the group. You get no respect from anybody on the streets or anybody else when you just sit there and you go at people's spouses. You go at people's family. You start being a troll. You don't want to address the fact that shit went sideways and you allowed it to go sideways. And you're going to lose all respect for that. So for me, I don't give a shit about them. But my thing is my guess.
What this really is the fact that everybody had an idea, how important this was, but understanding that when it started to go south, because it was going to, that when the undoing came part, it was going to be hard to decipher what that meant. And not only has that been true, but it's been horrifically true. in the worst ways possible. That the undoing was the worst way, the worst thing about this. But it was supposed to be understood from the get-go that once you get this far now, you're taking over a nation's capital plus 3. You know, there was the Windsor, everything happening in the Windsor Bridge. There was the Manitoba Legislative. There was Coots. It was a big fucking moment in history.
Oh, yeah.
You don't just pick up and walk away.
No.
You have to know what to say, what to speak, and every aspect. Even though I know it's random, it's new, it's organic, but you have to be a little more responsible than just go like, oh well, it was just this thing.
Well, there's other things that were involved as well. So a lot of us had our bank accounts frozen. A lot of us had money taken out of our bank and thrown into escrow. There was a quick, easy solution that was offered that they could have gave all the money back via the GoFundMe's and the Give, Send, Goes. We didn't need all that money. That was way too much money, first and foremost. We didn't need that much money. You could have gave it back, and nobody would have had to put money in escrow. Nobody would have got a lawsuit. There wouldn't have been a piece of the pie, and they refused. They refused
only
to give
to make
back
it more
the money.
difficult on you. Only to make it more difficult on you.
Well, and that's just it. And then when we get into court over the lawsuit, okay, the lawsuit could have been twisted in a different direction. And in fact, if it wasn't for Chad Arrows and Bridget Belton, donors who donated to the convoy were about to be added onto the lawsuit. And their lawyers wanted these donors to be added to the lawsuit. Now, why are you allowing your lawyers to dictate who gets put on this lawsuit when Chad and Bridget and many others were like, whoa, no, you can't go after donors. Now, why are you doing that? Because they have $1.4 million sitting in a private bank account,
right?
That they would rather have had in their pockets. And then doing so, they wanted to throw donors on there, so they didn't take. There's a lot to it, man. There's so much to it. So much.
It's like we're gonna have to have another broadcast almost.
No, I just my thing, Todd, is my whole point is this. People had their lives destroyed.
You know what? Hold on. Pat, I mean, I want to say two things quickly here. First off, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on with us tonight, because most for what you're doing right now wouldn't do that. I know that Chris and Tamara probably wouldn't. Thank you just so much for just being so personable, so Canadian, so wonderful, such a great human being and talking. A lot of people are going to have their own opinions of this conversation, I'm sure. I don't give a fuck. But I am also going to put you up on lights just by yourself right now. I want to hear just you, just by yourself, for the next at least 5 minutes. Everybody, this disaster of a goofball thing that was the ending of the best thing that ever happened in Canada, that could have always been just the best thing to happen in Canada, but has now been mired in all this dog shit. I want to go to hear from somebody who's going to go say it in a way that doesn't mire it in dog shit. It's just human honesty, and it's okay, because everybody that was involved is humans, and we all have these problems, and it fucks up. Okay, whatever. But I think what you're maybe about to hear is also probably the best reason for how you move the fuck on.
Yes, sir.
So everybody, Patrick.
Well, for me, you're hitting buttons, Todd. For me, plain and simple, our groups got infiltrated, and unfortunately, people had ulterior motives to move the ball up the field. Some wanted to sideline the ball. Some wanted to toss an interception. I do know this, and this I do know, and for a fact, there was a incident that was supposed to occur in Ottawa, such as a riot that was supposed to be initiated. And in fact, I got from firsthand knowledge that the riot that was supposed to be initiated, George and myself, without knowing, thwarted those efforts. we were able to stave off an incident that was going to be extremely serious, to the point that how I got tipped off to it and I didn't even really realize is one day I walked into the rooms and I said, "Hey, Chris, why is your truck taken off of Wellington Street? Why is it not on Wellington Street? We've only been here for like 5-6 days and you just went and pulled your truck off of Wellington Street." Well, we heard that people were having their vehicles damaged and I didn't want my vehicle damaged, and there was possibility of an incident and I didn't want my vehicle involved. And I'm like, wait a minute, because honestly, you should have never, if you're a leader in this, why is your truck being taken off? You should have been the leader, but you took your truck out because you got inside information that you didn't want to share with the rest of the guys that were on the roads, that there was an incident about to occur, and you went and pulled your unit, and now people are wanting to put you on a pedestal thinking you're a hero when really you're a chicken shit. You backed off the line. For me, you put people's lives at risk by not informing them.
Yep.
And we know by confidential intelligence officer within the Canadian Armed Forces that Trudeau already had his speech written up to discuss to the public on media about the riot that occurred in Ottawa. He was just about to hit the news, and he didn't, because we were able to push this away. And that's something a lot of people don't know. And a lot of people
infuriates me because
on the streets don't know how close to danger you really became. You were almost there. You were almost in a situation that they organized to allow to happen.
Hold on, but let me take that a step further. What you really mean to say is that what they already did do was going to be a lot worse. They were going to release the pepper spray and the
no. They had paid agitators coming in ready to start.
They were going to start to shoot the rubber bullets like crazy. They were going to go in hard.
No law enforcement involved. They were going to act like agitators within our groups, within people on the roads, to start damaging buildings, to start actually causing a riot. But we, George and myself, without knowing, Byron as well, a couple others that were with us, we fought it off. Like, we pushed the media out of the area because we started seeing a general herd of media coming into a certain area to begin to start filming. And we were like, what's going on? There's nothing going on. People are playing hockey and having fun. But all of a sudden, 6-7 news broadcasters come in, start posting up their tripods and their cameramen, and they're about to get on the mic, and we all swarm them and say, get out of here, fake media, get out of here, blah, blah, blah. They were there to get the people agitated. They were there, and the agitators were coming in. They were starting to come in. You can see them. Fuck you, this, that, and the other thing. They were meeting us right on the sidewalk, trying to get in my face and stuff. And we were like, what the hell's going on? And that we were able to thwart it in motion. And at that point, the temperature in those rooms changed. And it turned to, Pat King, we need you to help move trucks. We need you to help get services to people, mechanics to these guys and that. You're now a liability. And that was the term that was thrown around in their text messaging. And we've got copies of their text messages where Pat King is now a liability. And when asked, why is Pat a liability when he's an actual asset? And it's because Pat is making us look bad. We're not handing out money. Pat is getting fuel to trucks. We're not. He's making us look bad. We need to change the narrative on Pat.
Where was Chris Barber and Tamara Leach during the whole protest? They were up in the freaking hotel there. They didn't come down. Chris Barber's truck was there, 5 days? 5 days his truck was there, and he pulled it out like you said. Oh, it might get damaged. His $100,000 engine. Yeah. But he had to get rebuilt afterwards anyways. What about Norman Blanchfield? What his truck being seized for 2.5 years?
Yeah. Several times.
So
and by the way, and also, and Chris and Tamara never really stood up for them either.
No, they never. No.
The guys who got their trucks bashed in, seized, all fucked up. Like they never really. They did a whole lot. Oh, thank you.
What about
they never mentioned specific names.
Got his ribs broken.
What to be held? What to be done? It was always just some sort of random bullshit.
Poor me. Pay for my lawyers.
No, you're right. It's true.
So this is why I'm bringing out this information now to people. After 3 years of not being able to talk, reaching out to them to ask questions, being told by them to shut my mouth, I'm just in it for drama, all of this kind of nonsense, when that's not even what I was trying to do. I wanted the answers as to why you guys had allowed these things to happen, and where was your regard for the public when they could have been, when they were put into extreme situations and you didn't help them at all. And that's my question. Who gave you the authority to make those decisions? None of us in the organization allowed those things to happen. We all said no. Nobody wanted them. They had access to $1.4 million in their bank account, but they were telling everybody they had no money. No, you had money. You just didn't want to use it. You were getting money put into a secret bank account and not telling people, and it didn't come out until the Public Order Emergencies Commission. Mm-hmm. Although that money did get frozen, I'll give them that. It did get frozen. Mm-hmm. It's still in escrow.
But a lie is still a lie.
Yeah. A lie is still a lie no matter what. Yeah. And adopt a trucker with Chris Guerra. They did more work for the protesters in Ottawa than that group in the Ark Hotel ever did. And Chris was responsible for getting us permits. Chris was working a week in advance before we even got there to liaison with law enforcement to make sure that we had the directions, the maps, everything to get in. And they won't even say his name. And they won't even acknowledge that Chris did more for the movement than they did, because it makes them look bad. And this is my thing. They've been painted with this brush. And this brush that they've been painted with is a brush that a political entity painted. And unfortunately, you've got players like Keith Wilson, Jeffrey Rath, Tamara, all of them, and now they're in behind the Alberta independence movement, and they're kind of steering it the way they want it to steer. The Alberta independence movement was never supposed to be about separation. It was supposed to be about getting back our Alberta pension plan, not Alberta prosperity plan. Alberta, our project, Alberta pension plan, because you still stay within the confines of government within Canada, but then you get
back money that Ottawa was stealing.
You take that $3 trillion that Ottawa utilizes to spread out in equalization payments and everything else, and you keep that money in your province.
It's about having no taxation that belongs directly to fucking Ottawa.
Exactly. And now you have, we want to leave, we want to be independent. It was never
not a part of the conversation at all.
No. And now you've got these people. Jeffrey Rath, he was the lawyer that got Tamara the $1 million released initially.
Wow.
Now ask yourself that. Where did he disappear to all of a sudden? He got the $1 million released, put into her bank account.
Oh, him and BJ Dichter have a book deal.
Well, this is where I'm going at. Like there's
the future of the pussies of the West of Canada.
It's starting to look to me like how in the hell people can't see this.
It's right in your face.
Our duty is to protect one another. Our duty is to push people to be protected. And Phil, I was part of the Wexit movement. Absolutely. You know what happened to that, Phil? That got overtaken too by political entities, Phil. So don't say I'm fibbing. Grow up, man.
100%.
That got taken over by Jay Hill, Brad Wall. It got taken over by political entities. And what did they do? They pushed you out. And they pushed me out. And that's the whole thing, because we see what they're doing. And then we notify the public. We inform the public of what's going on, and next thing you know, we're ostracized from everybody's groups because we won't toe the line on a political level. We won't toe a conservative line. We won't toe a liberal line. We walk straight in the middle, because that's where we all need to be, is in the middle. And as soon as people on the left and people on the right start to realize that we shouldn't be punching back this way, we should actually start punching up to the ones that are in the higher offices, that's when we can start to bring this back together as one. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
And the left is starting to see it. The right always saw it. But now we got to start pulling ourselves back into the center again, because we need to get back to work. And I've got, like I said, 3 more days, man. 3 more days, and it's time to hit the ground again.
Well, maybe just a few more days after your 3 days are done, we'll have you back on again. I mean, of course, Pat, there's always like a million great things to talk to you about. You're for as many years as I've known you, you've always been just chock full of some of the most incredible things to say about not just your opinion or your experience, but really a raw take on what's happening in this country right now. You've done your best at always to really get involved, talk to the people coast to coast, who's involved, who's saying what, and you are independent media because you do a lot of research just on your own, and you don't voice it as if it was just Pat King's research. No, you talk about it as if, hey, Canadians disseminate this. And I just always loved it to death. I want to thank you, like really in a very large way, just for always just being a natural, just fucking great independent journalist. You're probably one of the coolest independent journalists that I think exists in Canada. I know you don't consider yourself that. I'm here to say you're wrong. You are. Canada's probably one of the most interesting independent journalists. You're always deep into the research of something, and you make no bones about voicing it. And so you're always just incredible to talk to.
I know where I came from. I know where I came from, and I'll never forget where I came from. And I know that walking that straight line, albeit sometimes people make mistakes. I get it. It happens. At the same time, I always stay true to the people, because the people are where it's at. We are the employers, not the employees. We, as the employers, hire and put into position people to work for us. We have the ability to fire them. Under law, we do. And if we're having a problem with our management team in Ottawa, we have the ability to have them taken out. When people start to realize that as we grow larger, as the groups grow larger, as the voices get louder, we can actually invoke change. We have, we are, and we will.
And there is really, most of the time, nobody better to end a broadcast with that sort of statement than Patrick King right there. Patrick, I've known you for years. It's been always a pleasure broadcasting with you, and I know we'll broadcast again really soon. Thank you so much for being with me here tonight. God bless everything that you do. God bless you and your family. I want everybody, especially, I know how much you and your family have gone through over the last several years. And so I really hope that you guys are feeling a little more calm, safe, and, whatever kind of comfortability and positivity needs to be there, because I wish you the best of it. Patrick, I love you to death. Thank you so much. We'll see you again soon. Everybody, this is closing off the night for tonight. One of the coolest members of anybody to go ahead and, really dig into on the individual level what it's like to be a Canadian in current day that disagrees with everything current day government. Mm-hmm. Patrick King, everybody, thank you so much. God bless. We'll see you soon.
Take care, Todd.
Thanks, Doug.